Ladies and gentlemen, why is game review and the analysis of chess games, yours and Grandmaster games, so important in learning chess? That is what we are answering in today's video. I'm not going to tell you in the introduction, but that is what we're answering in today's video and why it is so important. But what games do we look for? Well, let's have a look at that as I cut to the screen. Sorry about the face and the color and the screen quality. It should change. It should hopefully improve in the days to come. Well, I've asked ChatGPT this question, and it says, why study GM games at all? Specifically GM games. Well, the purpose is to understand high-level strategic and tactical concepts. I saw a beautiful quote the other day that says you need to start thinking like a GM before you become one. And that is so, so true. In chess, sometimes your rating won't reflect how good you really are. Sorry, I had to just scratch. Sometimes your rating won't reflect how good you are, but you're thinking about the game differently. The benefits, it improves pattern recognition. You learn how to convert advantages. That is the hardest part in chess, I feel, is when you know you're better, but you have to win the game. Sometimes winning a game that you are better in is harder than winning a game you're lost in. And then you see opening theory in action. There's nothing better than seeing GMs bust out 20 moves of cutting edge opening theory in world championships or in random games where they detonate a prep bomb, like a pipe bomb, a prep bomb. And you just see the other GMs stressing, trying to remember everything. And then you understand decision making in complex positions. And here's a hook, because it's not my YouTube script that I'm just showing to you, but it's a fair question. What if I told you that studying just one GM game properly could improve your chess more than playing 20 blitz games? It can. It really can. Why? Because you can learn from games. If you're analyzing all 20 of those blitz games, fair enough, but you don't have time to make it a high quality game. You study classical GM games because they really, really can help. What kind of games should you study? Classical games. These reflect deeper thinking. Annotated games start with games, from books or databases, Lead Chess, YouTube breakdowns. Literally, go find one of the immortal games that I've done on the channel. The Shakria Mamadjarov one, the Gotham Chess one, the Magnus one, the Paul Morphy one, more will be coming. Annotate it down on paper, like practice your chess annotation, and then you can make little notes. Like I think paper and board and a computer is chess. And then, players at your style. So if you like a very positional style, you don't like tactics because you always mess them up, look for Karpov. I like Karpov. Carlsen can really do anything. So, you can put him at all three, really. But Karpov is a great one. Kramnik is a good one, despite what people may think of him. Endgames, obviously, Magnus Carlsen, but also Jose Raul Capablanca. Philidor as well. Aggressive, obviously, Tal, Mamedyarov, Kasparov. Oh, the aggressive play from them was just mesmerizing. So look for games where you've got specific themes. Your theme might even be an opening. If you are trying to learn the French defense, and yes, you know the opening theory up to move maybe 10, but you're looking for how you play the game beyond that, go look for French games on chess.com, Like here, I use the French. There's a whole community collection in the library section on chess.com. Bobby Fischer on the French defense. And these are all games he's got with white against the French defense. So you can study the games he lost. Study the games Bobby Fischer lost, which is important. Because it's like, well, how do you defeat one of the chess goats? And look at the games he won. And look at the games maybe that have particular moves. You can, of course, go into an opening database, Lead Chess or, a chess book or any chess website. Chessbase is great for that. And go look it up. Stuff that you're looking for in particular. How to choose games to study. Yeah, thematic selections. Opening prep. How do they play your favorite openings? If you play the London, go look at Magnus Carlsen playing GMs in the London and winning. Positional themes. Okay, so you're looking for games where there was an IQP or there was a minority attack from the Queen's Gambit, or there's a Mykonos Carl's structure, or there's a Carlsbad structure, or something like that. Look at famous games. I've mentioned the Immortals, but there's the Game of the Century, there's, famous games that everybody should know, the opera game, etc., etc. And I, of course, use resources like I mentioned, ChessBase, Lead Chess, books. Books. I've done book reviews. The Gotham Chess, how to win a chess book. I'll do his second book when I get it, and when it comes out, it's only coming out next year, I think, 2026. So far as I heard last from him, I haven't kept up with him as much lately. Been a bit busy. And of course, use ChessBase if you don't have it. Lead Chess database is also pretty good. The chess.com database if you've got the premium membership. All good stuff. And yeah, chess books. How to study the GM game. And there are 5 key points here. Can I go a little bit lower while keeping... Yes, I can. Okay. Play through it without an engine first. Right. So that's the easiest thing out. Get the moves and play them out on a board. Why? Because you're going to be playing your games over a board. So you can do them online. Online, you might be tempted to use the engine. And we're not using the engine just yet. So get the moves on a piece of paper, and I would love for you to have a board. Get a board. Like, there's nothing more awesome than a board and the pieces and the feel of everything. Even if you're not playing games over the board, for me, it is just so inspiring. It really is. And you know that magic can happen on the board. Break the game down into phases. So say, this is where the opening kind of ends. The easiest way to tell is either when both sides have castled, or when the novelty has been played. Now, what is a novelty? A novelty is the first move, like, out of opening theory. So that's when you'll get into the database and you say, no games in the database. Or look for the moment, go specifically to the Masters database, and look for games beyond 1950. 1950 to present day. That's the last 75 years. Once you get past that point, it's the end of the opening phase. Kind of when the novelty's been played. Or if you've got the timestamps and you're analyzing a game from a tournament or something, and you've got the timestamps, look for when players start thinking. Because if they're not thinking, they're just using theory that they've memorized. Guess the move method. Now, this is very good if you've got something like Chessbook. And we go all the way back. And we go all the way back here. Now, this is a model game. They generate model games based on your openings. So you see, play through a model game. And it tells you here, this game follows your repertoire. So it's specific to your repertoire. In the Semi-Slav defense, my particular repertoire, the move order in the opening has been adjusted slightly to your repertoire. So it's not even the exact game, but it's been adjusted to reach the same point. And so I know I'm a d4 player. In tournaments, that's what's saved here. But d4, c4, knight to f3, and they go here. So I play knight to c3. They take. I know I have to play a4. The bishop comes out. We want to seize the center with e4. That knight comes out. We're going to pin it, so it's not putting us under pressure. Here, we're going to put pressure on the knight. We're going to take again. They take, and we take, threatening the rook. And now we get here. Now, that's the opening theory that I know. That's as much as I know. So here, I need to think. And this is a great place to pause. And for you, if you're analyzing this game, you might say, the game's opening theory ends at this particular point. Mine ended here. I need to bridge the gap. So, if I'm looking at this position, I'm thinking, well, what are my candidate moves? What are moves that I'm going to be thinking about? This knight's pinned, right? This pawn, I can't push it. Nothing else makes sense. So what makes sense to me? Queen c2 makes sense because it's a thematic idea and I can bring the rook. I can, of course, trade this pawn. I can't push it because I will lose it. I can play queen d2 targeting the pawn, but the rook is going to be taken there, right? Is there a way to stop that? No. I can jump my knight to the center with knight to e5, but I don't see how that's helpful. I can, of course, play a4, which could be useful. This bishop, I can play bishop to e2 in castle. So we're looking at thematic ideas, and we're going to guess them after some more analysis. For this part, do not use an engine. I cannot specify enough. The engine is your last resort to double check everything. It is not the answer. Because you don't have an engine in the game. You don't have an engine in the game. You better not. So, you need to think of all of this using your brain power. Even if you're wrong. Even if it takes you 3 hours to go through a game. I know it might be tedious, but it is so worth it. So here we're going to look at my candidate moves. So I looked at queen d2. I can't draw arrows, unfortunately. But I looked at queen d2, queen c2, maybe queen c1. We also considered taking. Okay, so queen d2. would be my natural start, targeting that pawn. It's a mistake. It's wrong. Because the rook just takes. So how do we defend that? Well, maybe a4, right? a4 might be... It's okay. So queen d2 was a genuine mistake, but a4 is okay. What about knight jumping into the center? It's okay, but it's not the move that was played. So those two moves are okay. We had one mistake, and we had two okay moves. So you can see here, inaccuracies, mistakes, blunders. We've got 10 correct so far. We've had one mistake. Okay, so queen c2. It's a mistake. Okay, rook takes. What else do we have? We've got taking. Taking is okay. Hint, the white pawn on g2. Oh, why does it want this? Oh, because there's fianchetto? Are we fianchettoing our bishop? Okay, we're fianchettoing our bishop. But now we've got to look. Why are they not taking? What is the hidden idea? So you've got to look at that. The best thing to do once you've played the game, maybe if you've got a computer, have it on 2 tabs. Or have your phone with like a Lichess thing so that you can input the moves and later go back and do a more thorough analysis. But that is my idea. So let's jump back into ChatGPT. D. Take notes and summarize lessons. E.g., in the Marozzi bind, white delays d4 until c4 is fully secured. So what is the Marozzi bind? Let's open Lichess. Let's open Lichess. And we're going to go openings. And we're going to see, do they have Marozzi bind? How was it spelled? It's Marozzi. What? I can't spell. M-A-R-O-C. M-A-R-O-C. Marozzi defense, variation. Marozzi bind, here it is. In the O'Kelly Sicilian. So this is just what it looks like. It's not necessarily this. So opening Explorer. So they haven't done fully, but this is kind of what it looks like, right? This is what the structure looks like. You don't always commit d4. But you can get this structure with c4 and e4 in other Sicilians. What do I mean by other Sicilians? Well, let's say knight f3. Well, you get d4, right? We're not going to say a6. We're going to say maybe d6, right? d4. Takes. And now we get like knight here, challenging Anand in the center, and now you can play c4. And this is still Marozzi bind. Here, and then here. And you're going to build up like a little pyramid. You're going to get your bishop here, and this is kind of what you're going to do in the Marozzi bind. And you can make a note of that. In this structure, or in this opening, we do this until this happens, or we do this after this happens, etc., etc. And then finally, use the engine last. Only check with Stockfish after you've made your own analysis. And if it tells you everything you've done is wrong, fine, you've learned from it. That is what this is all about, learning the game. And then here, practical tips. Limit to 1 game per session. Go deep, not wide. Don't try and do 10 games in 1 hour. Do 1 game in 1 hour, but do it properly. This is all about quality. Sometimes you want quantity, you want lots of puzzles, and you want lots of other, space repetition in chessbook. You're going to review all of your moves and etc. This is about quality. There's no substitute for quality when you're doing game analysis. Review your notes later. This is important. If you can, if you've got the space and you've got paper, make notes and file them under specific things. So say you've studied the game in the French defense and you've looked at it from the black side. Make a note of it, put it in a file called the French defense, and you can add it to notes. If you've got a computer, open a Word document, call it French defense, and type all your notes there. Type the note and the game you took it from, etc., etc. Break it down by opening type. So the French, we know it branches out. It's got the advanced French, it's got the exchange French, it's got the classical French, and it's got the Tarrasch. I play the Tarrasch, but you can have notes under each, particularly if you're playing maybe with the black pieces. You need to know what your response to each of those 4 is going to be. If it's the classical, am I playing the win hour? Am I playing something else? Etc., etc. Am I playing the poison pawn variation of the win hour? And go deep and deep, and you can add notes and notes, etc., etc. Try to apply ideas in your own games. So, like, for example, when I play e4 online, I always remember in the back of my mind the Paul Morphy opera game. Why? It's when I play the Philidor. So it's e4, e5, literally. If we go to chessboard. Okay, I know this says Fisher James and Trigan Petrosian, but this is the Paul Morphy opera game, right? E45, knight to f3. This is what I always played. I didn't really listen to Gotham Chess and play his Vienna. And against d6, before I saw the opera game, I always used to play this. Why? Because I was an Italian player. But then I learned, no, take the center, d4. This is like a French, but not quite. And then when they played here, and if you go through my games, they did go there, I just need to take. Sometimes they took, and then we would have this. And they would take, and then I would win a pawn. And I'd threaten a fork, so they'd have to go back. And then I could go here. And then if they went here, I went here. And then I was better. Sometimes they didn't allow that. So instead, they took. And then I took back, and it was the opera game. We got here. And sometimes they went here, trying to defend mate, or sometimes they hung mate. They gave check. I went here, they went here, and they hung mate. Sometimes they followed it a little bit more. They blocked. And then I went here. And then they were like, shit, this pawn. And then they hung mate. So you see, it learns and you're remembering patterns. That's what chess is. It's patterns. It's patterns, it's patterns, patterns. And then obviously revisit games multiple times over weeks. You don't have to do it multiple times a day, please. But look at it once a day. Say Monday is my day where I revise everything in the French defense. I've used the French defense a lot. Maybe we change it. Monday is the day I review everything in the Catalan. I'm looking at my Catalan notes. I'm looking at Magnus Carlsen games because when he plays the Catalan, it's like a cheat code. And I'm going to look at some of the stuff. And I'm just going to look at one or two games that I have analyzed. So I'm going to analyze a new one and look at one or two games specifically. Maybe they're relevant to what I'm doing that day that I've looked at before. And before I play a tournament, I'm going to look through the ideas. Particularly if you're playing a tournament like I am in a few weeks, the South African Chess Open, where it's over multiple days and you're only playing like 2 rounds, and you've got time to go through it, particularly if you know what's coming up. And yeah, it's got bonus. Use games for training. Use your own games. Okay. So you can set positions from the game as training puzzles. Literally. You can go on to Lead Chess, set up the position, if it's an endgame, particularly endgames if you need to practice them, and you can play it from there against the computer. You can practice endings or positions versus the engine. You can obviously practice it versus friends. And you can play blindfolded relay of the game to improve visualization. So I can tell you now, I can close my eyes and I can tell you that the Paul Morphy opera game is e4, e5, knight to f3, d6, d4, bishop to g4, d takes e5, bishop takes f3, queen f3, d takes e5, bishop to c4, knight to f6, queen to b3, queen e7, knight to c3, c6, bishop to g5, b5, knight takes b5, c takes b5, bishop takes b5, check, knight to d7, long castles, rook to d8, rook takes d7, rook takes d7, rook to d1, queen e6, then it's bishop takes d7, check, knight takes d7, queen b8, check, knight takes b8, and rook d8, checkmate. Now that is a long sequence of moves, but it's a game. I did it all with my eyes closed, no board, no nothing. You can see the screen didn't move, you were just listening to my voice. Maybe you were following along. But I did that all out of memory. Now I don't expect you to remember 70 move endgames, 100 move endgames, etc., etc. But if you can remember the opening theory, at least, by memory, because that is the most important part that you've got to commit to memory, the others will be intuition or recognizing patterns. The theory you've got to commit to memory, so you've got to recite it, etc. Like the Berlin endgame if you play the Spanish, or if you're going to play the Berlin, and you remember how to get to positions, and then from there you remember the vague ideas and you implement them as best as you can. And then here's the outer hook. You don't have to be a GM to think like one. Just study like one. One well-studied game can change your chess forever. And I will leave you with that.